The finals is awesome. I've been waiting every day for it to release since the first teaser dropped, and managed to play in almost every beta. Out of nowhere, it was finally given to us during the 2023 Game Awards, and I immediately put my upcoming Star Citizen video on the back burner and started working on this. There isn't a single other competitive shooter on the market that gets me smiling and laughing out loud like this game does.
Oh my god! Holy shit.
The game just has that special sauce of good movement mechanics, solid shooting feel, and innovative gameplay systems that make every match feel like it's a white knuckle, down to the wire brawl for the win. But there's one more thing that elevates this beautiful gingerbread house above anything else that you can play right now. And that's the destruction. It truly is a thing of beauty to watch your target run behind cover and simply bulldoze that cover to dust. Or plant an explosive on the objective and nuke it right as the enemy team walks in. There's a gratifying chaos that unfolds during a match of the finals, starting in a pristine and oversaturated vision of Monaco or Seoul or Las Vegas that devolves into utter carnage and rubble by the end. Team fights tend to play out like this. One team will attempt to deposit their cash box at the objective location, while the other teams converge on them and try to steal it. During the fight, buildings will start taking damage, and if too many holes are blown in too many load-bearing walls, they'll collapse. But not in a hokey, pre-scripted, and rigidly animated sequence that looks the same each and every time. No. The geniuses at Embark Studios figured out how to make procedural, fully dynamic destruction work in a fast-paced arena shooter. They pulled this trick off by having all the destruction and player movement hosted server-side. That means that if a hole is blown in a wall, no matter how big or how small, it looks the same to everyone on the server. If an entire floor collapses, every player standing on it sees the exact same thing happening around them. And that means that you get to enjoy moments like this. It's a special game. Even if the shotguns probably need to be nerfed, and they need to do something about the goddamn invisible light, motherfucker. Anyway. The studio that made the finals happens to be composed of a lot of former DICE developers. People who worked on some of my favorite games of all time, like Battlefield Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 1. They took the best parts of what they created at DICE and carried that DNA forward into a project that's completely different aesthetically, but maintains all the things that made those games great. Unique visual style, genuinely incredible sound design, and game worlds that feel alive and reactive to you. That last part in particular is something I've been seeing less and less of in the modern era of gaming. Destruction, and more generally, physics, were a huge part of the transition from the 6th to 7th generation of game consoles. Half-Life 2 is the one that really pushed the limits of what was possible on 2004 era hardware. And from there, realistic physics were an aspect of game engines that continued to be refined and improved upon. From Bad Company 2 to Just Cause 2, Katamari Damacy to Crysis, games kept pushing the envelope of interactive and reactive worlds. And at the tail end of 2009, we reached what I and many others still consider the pinnacle of destruction physics, Red Faction Guerrilla. I don't know how they pulled it off back in 2009, but RFG still holds up today because of its pioneering and incredibly satisfying physics and destruction systems. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. The game didn't exactly have the world's best shooting mechanics or most in-depth narrative exploration of what it means to be an insurgent against an imperialist force.
Our giants of industry call themselves civilians, but make no mistake.
Oh, wait a second.
Every EDF massacre and atrocity on this planet is done for their benefit.
Oh, shit.
Mars makes them rich, and brutality keeps their workers in line.
Hell yeah.
This time, they'll pay in blood.
Hell yeah.
But the work that Volition put into their game engine still stands head and shoulders above what most games can offer today. Beyond the finals and a handful of other games which can lovingly be referred to as a step above tech demo, there's been a noticeable lack of innovation in these types of systems in the last decade. Red Faction and Volition no longer exist. Battlefield is a shell of its former glory. Apparently, Lego Fortnite is the best we're gonna get in terms of destruction physics nowadays. For reasons related to sales and marketing trends, the industry at large has chosen to focus much more heavily on surface-level features, like shinier graphics and opener worlds, without creating the systems and interactivity that make these big, beautiful worlds feel truly alive.
And not just this system, but over 100 systems. Over 1,000 planets, all open for you to explore.
There's something so immensely satisfying and cathartic about reducing a formerly grand structure to splints and shards and rubble. It feels so good to press a button and watch a skyscraper fold in on itself. I just love leveling residential neighborhoods like they're made of cardboard. Wait a second. Why does it feel so good to destroy things? Maybe we just find simulations satisfying. Seeing things act and react in a game world the same way they would in reality can be really engaging and gratifying. Whether it's a building falling down or rubber ducks splashing in a simulated bathtub, like watching a line of dominoes fall, or a perfectly constructed Rube Goldberg machine finish its arbitrarily complex task. Maybe destruction in games is just tickling that part of our brains that likes to see the forces of gravity, tension, and friction at play. But then again, there's a pretty big difference between finding amusement in the simulated splashes created by some yellow duckies and the strangely primal pleasure that comes from destroying things. If you take a step back and think about what you're actually doing, it becomes a little bit twisted, doesn't it? These are apartment complexes, hospitals, places where people are supposed to live and work. You can justify it by saying that these are just simulations for a competition, or enemy fortresses that are oppressing the people, or villages where the bad guys are hiding. So maybe we love destruction because it's fun to watch big things fall down, or because explosions are pretty. But maybe there's something else going on in our heads when we press down on the detonator too. As Exerbia so eloquently pointed out, life itself could be framed as
anti-entropy, with stars burning out and galaxies scheduled to collide, but meanwhile we're creating all these new forms down on Earth, writing stuff, building stuff, mathematizing stuff.
One of the most fundamental and beautiful things about being human is contributing to that fight against entropy, pushing back against the inherent chaos of the universe by building things, making connections with others, pulling order from the maw of disorder, each of us a light shining against the darkness. But I think there is a part of us, deep down inside all of us, that relishes in the dark. That perverse desire to see order turn to chaos, all the familiar and predictable places in life reduced to rubble. We fight against the spreading entropy while also being its greatest perpetrators. I know what you're thinking. That's really deep to go on a silly arena shooter where your opponents turn to coins when you eliminate them. Well, first of all, that's just how my brain works. And second, coins? All this violence in service of money? And now that I think about it, Monaco, Las Vegas, even Seoul symbolize wealth and corporate power. Okay, we don't have time for that. Maybe in a follow-up video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see some more content like this. And leave a comment down below telling me about your favorite destruction mechanic in a game that you've played. Follow me on Twitch as well. I'm going to start streaming semi-regularly, 5 to 7 p.m. on weekdays Pacific time. And keep your eyes peeled for the next video, Star Citizen, like I promised. That should be coming out in the next couple weeks. See you on the next one.